long before the second Dark Lord Sauron attempted to conquer Middle-earth. The first Dark Lord, Melkor, was denied mastery over the world by his fellow Valar, and so sought vengeance by destroying all of creation. Fighting a number of wars over the years, Melkor was defeated and captured in the war for sake of the elves, after which he was imprisoned for 3 ages before feigning repentance to seek pardon from his brother Manwë, king of the Valar, who believed these lies and released him over the objections of others. At first, Melkor tried to be helpful and kind, but eventually revealed the truth when he allied with the Ungoliant, mother to the great spiders, and destroyed the 2 Trees of Light before attacking the fortress Formenos, where he killed Finwë, ruler of the Noldor elves, stole the 3 Silmaril jewels of the High King's eldest son Fëanor, and fled east to Middle-earth. Outraged by the crimes against his family, the new High King Fëanor, alongside his 7 sons, swore an oath of vengeance, vowing to recover the Silmarils by any means and at any cost, saying, "Be he foe or friend, be he foul or clean, brood of Morgoth or bright Vala, Elda or Maya or aftercomer, man yet unborn upon Middle-earth, neither law nor love nor league of swords, dread nor danger, not doom itself, shall defend him from Fëanor and Fëanor's kin. Whoso hideth or hoardeth, or in hand taketh, finding keepeth, or afar casteth a Silmaril. This swear we all, death we will deal him ere day's ending. Woe unto world's end. Our word hear thou, Eru Allfather. To the everlasting darkness doom us if our deed faileth. On the holy mountain, herein witness, and our vow remember, Manwë and Varda. A solemn and unyielding oath sworn to Eru the Creator, Fëanor and his sons committed to an irreversible path, unable to forego or alter their mission under any circumstance. Despite the history of hostility between Fëanor and his brother Fingolfin, they united alongside their youngest sibling, Finarfin, so they might sail east to fight the War of the Great Jewels against Melkor, renamed Morgoth, meaning Black Enemy. Yet the brothers again started to fracture when the Falmari elves of the coast refused to give up their ships so the Noldor could voyage east. Bound irrevocably to the oath they swore, Fëanor and his closest followers attacked the Falmari, who defended themselves with hunting bows, repelling the enemy 3 times before the well-armed aggressors were reinforced by the other, well-meaning Noldor, who sought to defend their kinsmen and did not know how the conflict began. In response to their departure and the horrors of the first kinslaying, the Vala, Mandos the Doomsman, pronounced a terrible fate upon them, promising tragedy for all Noldor that left the Undying Lands. Hearing the doom of Mandos, Finarfin and roughly 1/10 of their people returned to Valinor. Angered by the criticisms and judgments of others, Fëanor departed with his faction across the sea, promising to send the ships back for Fingolfin's followers once they reached Middle-earth. But this was a lie, as Fëanor burned the vessels to prevent the others from following, feeling their opposition to the kinslaying meant they could not be sufficiently relied upon in the coming war. Abandoned, the remaining Noldor endeavored to reach the eastern continent by traveling north through the dangerous icy wastes of Helcaraxe. Upon landing in Lamoth and making camp at Lake Mithrim, Fëanor's faction was attacked by the orc armies of Morgoth in the Dagor Nuin Gileath, or Battle Under the Stars, but mounted a valiant defense that, over the next 10 days, utterly annihilated the advancing army and reinforcements, sending what remained of the enemy retreating to the Dark Lord's fortress of Angband. Consumed by rage and battlelust, Fëanor unwisely pursued the survivors all the way to the gates of Angband, where he fought and killed a number of vicious Balrogs until finally cut down by Gothmog, a lieutenant of Morgoth. Fëanor's sons then arrived and drove the enemy back, but were too late to save their father, who used the last of his strength to curse Angband 3 times before passing away. Perhaps the most gifted elf to ever live, Fëanor's spirit was so powerful it burned his body to ash when he died. Though elves were immortal and entitled to another physical body after their spirits went through a period of self-reflection in the halls of Mandos, it was said Fëanor would not be reborn until Dagor Dagorath at the end of the world, when he would finally reclaim the Silmaril jewels and give them to the Vala Yavanna so she might use their essence to restore the Two Trees of Light. Although the Noldor king died, the mission to fulfill the Oath of Feanor lived on through his sons, Maedhros the Tall, Maglor the Minstrel, Celegorm the Fair, Caranthir the Dark, Curufin the Crafty, as well as the twins, Amrod and Amras. As if to further underscore the significance of Fëanor's death, this moment coincided with the arrival of Fingolfin's faction in Middle-earth, and the first rising of the moon and later sun, which marked the beginning of the First Age. Though the followers of Fingolfin and the sons of Fëanor were united in their hatred for Morgoth, they remained divided both because of their troubled past, and because both Fingolfin, the eldest brother of Fëanor, and Maedhros, the eldest son of Fëanor, both had claimed to rule the Noldor, and while Maedhros eventually made peace by renouncing his claim to leadership, he inadvertently laid the seeds of resentment and future conflict, as his brothers were upset to be passed over in the line of succession. During the centuries of the First Age, the Noldor spread throughout Beleriand and alongside their allies continued to fight Morgoth, winning a number of early victories until eventually suffering a string of significant defeats. Yet in the midst of these terrible losses, the enemies of the Dark Lord won a great victory in 466 FA, when the human hero Beren, son of Barahir, and his love, Luthien, daughter to the Elven High King Thingol and Maya Queen Melian, managed to steal one of the 3 Silmaril jewels embedded in the crown of Morgoth, bringing it to Doriath, where it became an heirloom of the royal family. Inspired by this great achievement, the Noldor and their allies attacked the Dark Lord in the Nirnaeth Arnoediad, or Battle of Unnumbered Tears, in 472 FA, only to suffer another devastating defeat, which allowed Morgoth's forces to conquer much of northern Beleriand. Among the many realms destroyed during these years, Doriath fell not because of the Dark Lord, but rather due to their possession of a Silmaril, first attacked by the dwarves of Nogrod, who were hired to combine the jewel with the famed Nauglamir necklace, but upon its completion wanted to keep it for themselves. Losing her husband in the sacking of Menegroth in 502 FA, Queen Melian the Maya returned to the Undying Lands, which meant the collapse of her magical shield, protecting their lands from outside enemies. Seeking vengeance for what occurred, Beren, son of Barahir, gathered an army to defeat the dwarves of Nogrod and recover the Silmaril jewel which he gifted to his wife Luthien. But after her death a year later, it was inherited by her son Dior, who ruled as the new king of Doriath. Still bound by the oath sworn centuries earlier, the sons of Fëanor reluctantly tolerated that one of their Silmarils was held by the High King Thingol and then his famous daughter Luthien, but refused to allow it in the hands of yet another elf with no rightful claim, and so demanded Dior surrender the jewel. When the king refused, Celegorm rallied his brothers and their followers to destroy Doriath in the second kinslaying of 506 and 507 FA, resulting in the deaths of Dior, his wife Nimloth, and their sons Elurin and Elured, as well as Celegorm, Curufin, and Caranthir. Despite winning the battle, the sons of Fëanor failed in their mission, as Dior's daughter Elwing fled with the Silmaril, while leading survivors to settle the mountains of Sirion near the Isle of Balar. Pursuing their prize, they found Elwing in 538 FA and demanded she surrender her jewel, but she refused, and so they committed the third kinslaying, considered the cruelest of all because they slaughtered so many defenseless refugees. Yet even after this victory, in which they lost Amrod and Amras, the last sons of Fëanor, Maedhros and Maglor, did not achieve their goal, as Elwing threw herself and the Silmaril into the sea rather than face capture. Ever a friend to the children of Eru, the Vala Ulmo saved Elwing from drowning and granted her the ability to transform into a white bird, allowing her to fly with the Silmaril until finding her husband Eärendil's ship. Transforming back into a woman, she explained all that happened, and after realizing Beleriand was entirely lost, they sailed west to Valinor, where they might beg assistance from the Valar, who were the only hope of defeating Morgoth. Successful in their mission, the army of the Valar reached Middle-earth in 545 FA, engaging in the War of Wrath over the next 40 years, a brutal conflict in which many took part, including Eärendil, who returned aboard a skyship with the Silmaril upon his brow. At last defeating the Dark Lord, his spirit was unhoused and sent through the Door of Night into the Timeless Void, unable to return to Arda until the final battle of Dagor Dagorath at the end of the world. With Morgoth captured, the final 2 Silmarils were recovered by the Maya Eonwe, but even now, the surviving sons of Fëanor could not forego their vows, and so sent a message, asking that the jewels be returned to their family. But Eonwe answered that they lost the right to the Silmarils due to all their merciless deeds, adding that they must surrender themselves and return to Valinor to be judged by the Valar. His heart sorrowful from all their misdeeds, Maglor wanted to obey the message, asking, "If Manwë and Varda themselves deny the fulfillment of an oath to which we named them in witness, is it not made void?" To which Maedhros answered, "But how shall our voices reach to Ilúvatar beyond the circles of the world? And by Ilúvatar we swore in our madness, and called the everlasting darkness upon us if we kept not our word. Who shall release us?" "If none can release us," Maglor argued, "then indeed the everlasting darkness shall be our lot, whether we keep our oath or break it. But less evil shall we do in the breaking." Even so, eventually Maedhros convinced Maglor they must keep their word no matter the cost, and so they snuck into Eonwe's camp, where they slew the guards and at long last laid hands on the 2 remaining jewels. Yet all this commotion inevitably raised the camp against them, and so they prepared to fight and die for the fulfillment of their oath. Eonwe, however, would not allow more bloodshed and let them leave unharmed. Departing, each of them took a jewel, saying, "Since one is lost to us, and but 2 remain, and we 2 alone of our brothers, so it is plain that fate would have us share the heirlooms of our father." Yet in the end, the remaining sons of Fëanor found no joy or peace in their victory. As they committed so many terrible deeds, the jewels deemed them unworthy and burned their hands, bringing only pain and misery. Unable to live with all they'd done, Maedhros threw himself and his jewel into a fiery chasm, while Maglor tossed his Silmaril into the sea and lived out his days singing songs of lament while he wandered aimlessly through Middle-earth. Thus, the doom brought forth through the Oath of Feanor was complete, and it came to pass that the Silmarils found their long homes, one in the airs of heaven, one in the fires of the heart of the world, and one in the deep waters. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like Pete J. King, Daedry Dragonswit, Delacruz the Freed, and Barian the Soft Bastard Beesbury. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/CivilizationEx, where you can gain early access to videos and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.